All right, so please hang out with me and just take a breath for a second. Hegseth has called a meeting of all military senior leaders next week. And there are a couple reasons why he could be doing this, and I'm going to walk you through some of them, okay? One reason is he could ask all of these leaders for a pledge of loyalty to Donald Trump instead of the Constitution. And if they don't give that pledge, he could have them fired or arrested. And when you hear that and you go like, holy shit, it's all over, they're going to take over the military. In order for me to believe that, which I don't, I would have to believe that every other leader and military person underneath them was going to just roll over if their leaders got arrested or fired. And that's not the case. Because let me be clear about this. Our entire military, especially the officers, especially the leaders from top to bottom, are trained in military history and are trained in the UCMJ, are trained in the Constitution. And the higher up they go, the better off they're trained. And they are trained against enemies foreign and domestic. And if you don't think in the back of their minds that they have thought about this or this coming down the pipe in some way, you would be wrong. The previous time that Trump was, running the country, military leaders were aware of this and they were preparing for this. They understood this was a possibility. During Biden's administration, when Milley gave that speech, "We do not answer to a king," they were preparing for this. When Biden said, "Remember your oath," they were preparing for this. So this is something that's been in the back of a lot of people's minds, a lot of military personnel's minds for multiple years. It was something you hoped would never really happen, but you knew it was there because it does say "end domestic." And so they are prepared for that. And they're also prepared to do what they have to do if that is the case. If military leaders start getting fired and there's a pledge of loyalty, that becomes a domestic enemy. And you can't tell me that the entire military is just going to suddenly roll over in all of these units, right? And some people will say like, oh, look how veterans voted in 2024. Okay, I'll look at how veterans voted. And it was like 67% that voted for Trump. But I'll also look at the fact that 50% of post 9/11 veterans voted for Kamala Harris. I'll also point you to the fact that the VA has been decimated, right? They have had military members rolling out red carpets for Putin. They put on a military parade where the military was not having that. They had flyovers where for like the first time in history, the flyover was delayed because the military was sending a message. They had to pass over 38 4-star generals to find a retired 3-star general to be his chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. They fired the leader of the DIA for doing his job and giving the assessment of his agency. They fired him for doing his job. And if you think that sent a bunch of feel-good vibes throughout the military, it did not. They understood that this guy was getting fired for telling the truth, which is what you were trained to do in the military. That did not go over well. Hegseth is a running meme. There are articles about this. He's a running meme inside the military, okay? The support of the military is not there for this administration. And so Trump and his cronies may be being told that, like, hey, you can take over the military anytime you want. You just say so. They're being told that, like he's being told everything else. Everything is inflated. People love you. You have 90% approval rating, all this bullshit. When you look around the country, historically low approval ratings, right? People do not dig his act. Farmers don't dig his act. Business owners are not digging his act. We are not digging his act. Prices are going up. Pay is staying the same, which is shitty as it is. None of these things play into his favor, but he's probably being told different. So that is an option where he says, hey, now's my time. I can go do this. I don't have to worry about Epstein anymore because I'll have control of the military. I have control of the country. Great. That is an option that they are thinking about. And he's probably being told to consider because he is living on a bed of lies. And so please be aware of that. There's another possibility in there as well where, and if you see this build up and up over multiple days, it's a trigger. There's nothing they like to do more than trigger the libs. And even though they know they can't pull this off and they could say like, hey, military, you're mine, do whatever you want, martial law, fire all the leaders and all this bullshit, it's mine. They could give you that impression so that, some people who are not aware are shitting their pants. And that's part of their game. And it always has been, if you remember, it always has been the bluster, right? So that's another option as well. And both of these options take breath away, space away from the Jeffrey folders, right? Absolutely. I think the House just canceled a couple days worth of votes where it could have come up with our new representative from Arizona where they could have gone ahead and passed that discharge. and got that ball rolling. So they canceled a couple votes instead, right? Like that is front and center. And I think even part of this, if he's going to go down this road of not just trying to trigger people, but he's going to go down this road, I think some of that, he may have been blending in this whole like, hey, suddenly I'm supportive of Ukraine. Suddenly I don't want Israel to take the West Bank. And that has happened very recently, right? Like, so he's trying to do this little goodwill and like, hey, I'm a great guy. You should support me as I try to take over the country. If he goes option A, and it's not just trying to trigger people, if he goes option A, it will not go well for him. And domestic. All right. And you may see for the first time ever in United States history, the military remove a leader. Because they're not going to roll over. You would have to ask every member of the military to roll over. Some would. Some, like the diehard guys would, probably lower ranks, they would. Okay. Some. Okay. You're going to have a metric shit ton whose families have been affected by his policies and these broken promises and what he has done and the ridicule that he has put upon the military. And they are going to react in a different way. And most importantly, because they took an oath. And you may think that's nothing and it's just bullshit, but it's not. It's not. And for the leaders above them, it's not. And so I ask you to think about that. They're going to make you absolutely, they're going to try to make you go crazy with all this bullshit, but take a breath. Okay. One thing I will say is if this is the only place you get news, especially with the executive order about TikTok sale, if this is the only place you get news, please go to Red Ocean or Substack, somewhere else, and get your news there. All right. That is something I would look at. Reuters, BBC. If you're not following BBC, please follow BBC. Okay. AP, some of those are still valid. ABC, sketchy as fuck. CBS, more sketchy. But please, don't lose your cool. And if shit goes sideways, there's things that we can do. Stop working. Start heading to DC. All of us. Just stop working and go. Your life will be better by heading there and us all taking care of this instead of slowly just, sliding into the abyss. So take a breath. I know you'll see this stuff about decapitating the military and it's all going to doom and gloom. Please take a breath. Okay. If you watch all this, I appreciate it. All right. We are not there yet. So take a breath, understand what is happening, but be ready. Okay. Just in case. But this will not go the way he thinks if he's trying to pull off what he might be. It will not. So please have faith in the military. Please have faith in the leaders, all of these brothers and sisters who have been bonded over decades of conflicts with each other, not with him, and to the Constitution and to the UCMJ. Okay?